19. And the verse we read you where it says Matthew got up and followed him was in Matthew 9. Amen. So this is relatively early in the life of the Lord and world history and but at this time in world history and in the history of the Jewish nation, the people were actually ready for the Messiah to come. You know, you could almost feel like the air was charged. Amen. They were waiting for Messiah. They were waiting for the anointed one. Now, but their anticipation for him was that Messiah, he would come to lead them out of the tyranny of Rome. Amen. It would get rolled off our back. It's been going on too long. The prophets have been talking about Messiah coming. Amen. Amen. We ready. We ready. Amen. They were looking for this military leader to come. They were looking for perhaps even maybe a political organizer. Amen. Yes. You know how folk felt when Obama was out there talking about hope and change. Right. Amen. Looking for a political organizer who was going to do something. Amen. Even a mighty prophet, like the prophets of old, like Elijah, Jeremiah, even one of those who will come and take this role of Messiah. They were waiting for him. And they thought that no matter what, that what he would do is he would reestablish the throne of David, just like the prophet said. He's going to come and bring back the glory days of Israel, when Israel was rough and tough, when we had great prosperity, when nobody bothered us. Yes. That's what their whole heart was looking for when they said Messiah is coming. Amen. Looking for the good old days when we had a mighty army, when we were respected. Amen. Now, some of these people saw Jesus come. They heard what he was saying. And some of them started to oppose him and his teachings because they started to say, what he's saying is contrary to what Moses said. What he's saying is not what the law says. Amen? So they looked at him as though he was attempting to change the law of Moses with these new ideas, and that these new ideas were contrary to God. Amen? So what we see here is Jesus is saying in these verses in Matthew 5, what he's telling them, I'm telling you what I'm come to do. I didn't come to change it. I came to fulfill it. Yes. Amen? Amen. You know, you're misunderstanding what this is all about. God gave a law. I ain't changing the law. I'm fulfilling the law. Now, he was talking about regime change, and we heard that word over the past 10 years, so to speak. You know, regime change, that means to change it at the top. Like they did with Hussein and all those, right? They put somebody else in charge of the government. That's called regime change. He was talking about revolution of sorts, but he wasn't talking about it in the same manner that men talk about it. He wasn't talking about regime change and revolution the way men often talk about it. And that's with force. Amen? That's at ballot boxes and things of that nature. He was talking about a spiritual change from in here. In here. They didn't get it then, and we sometimes don't get it now. Amen? Miss it entirely. He came to fulfill it. Amen? Back then as today, there were some, and some still remain today, who do not understand or really want to understand what Jesus was saying. Because if you just think about the law of Moses and what they were saying that he was coming to change, the law of Moses is in the Bible. It's in Exodus. It's in a couple of other places. And Jesus gave some condensed version in the book of Mark, I think it was, in our study today in Sunday school. But if you look at Exodus with the law of Moses, it says, And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Amen. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children to the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. Yes. And showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Yeah. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work. Thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Amen? Yeah. Amen. Now, you can go back and count them if you want to. But that's God's law, in essence, as we call the Ten Commandments. Amen? And if you want to go back and say, well, this one that makes is that, okay, fine. But we all sort of understand what they are. Amen? And what Israel was commanded to do was to follow these laws. Amen? And you know that really God's law is more expansive than just those so-called 10. Amen? Now, if you did not follow those laws, or if you broke those laws, in very simple terms, what that meant you were a sinner. That's what the sin means. Separation from God. You separate yourself from God by not keeping his commandments. Amen? And if you had sinned, you were subject to death. If you sinned, you were subject to death. And to address that sin, God had established a system of sacrifice where an animal was slain as a substitute for the transgression. Amen? Yes. Or the transgressor, actually. Not for the act, but for the person. And this went on for a few thousand years. If you broke the law, you were guilty and a price had to be paid. If I went out there and I covered my neighbor's lawnmower, that's the death penalty. No matter what we think about it, that's the death penalty. Amen? God established a system because he loved us so much, amen, that what you could do is you could take something that you owned, an animal, of certain conditions, and you could sacrifice that animal. And the blood of that animal, amen, was used as the evidence of the debt being paid, of something dying that would take care of that sin. I got my eyes on my neighbor's lawnmower. I wish I had it. I ain't satisfied with what God gave me. I want that lawnmower. Okay, so I go out and I raise a lamb or I buy a lamb, and he takes on that sin. Amen? Essentially, that's very simple, and I hope I do justice, but I'm trying to just give us the idea and the concept of what the sacrificial system was about. The wages of sin is death. Amen? And the sacrifice of that animal satisfied that system to a degree. It didn't take it away. It didn't take away the sin. It just satisfied. It covered it. Amen? Well, what Jesus is saying is that he came to fulfill this law for once and